Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first race of the second season ever for the Sunday Night Skippy Racing League. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have a great race in store for you. I am joined today by a special guest commentator, Jared Ziegler. Here we are. You're coming to us from the Camping Universe Xfinity Series, and we're happy to have you today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Excited for tonight. Looks like we have a really tight group of drivers, and looking forward to the race. Yeah, we're gonna have all those great opportunities. Some of the drivers had really good practice times. Currently, don't have so great of qualifying times. Like they'll have chances to work their way up through the field and hopefully make it exciting for the exciting finish.
And I'm apologize. It looks like we've got a little bit of an echo going on. I'll try to fix that. But we are coming at you with the open qualifying here right now. We'll try to check in with the drivers and see what they're able to put down for the starting grid. We've been able to bring up here on the left side there the timing tower with the top times for everybody today.
Yeah, I got the 51 of Moberton. He got up there, just set his fastest lap of the session, got on provisional pole currently. Up, and Chris Herrera just took it over from him.
Checking in with a 687 of Chris Herrera, as you just mentioned, taking the top spot currently with the hot time 143.296. That's actually pretty good, considering a sub 144 is kind of what we were expecting to take the field today. So he seems to have figured this track out and is ready to do battle.
Yeah, one interesting thing that you can do with group qualifying here, they have decently long straights that some of the drivers might be able to take advantage of drafting opportunities, as most of the drivers around here so far that I've seen have usually been in packs or groups. So you might have a little bit of downforce issues in the corners, but you get a lot more speed down the straights, and could maybe earn a 10 for 2 throughout the lap, which currently it's only a tenth separating and 2 tenths separating the top three. So that makes a big difference right there.
Yeah, and as you can tell here, I just pulled up the track map. We've got two long straightaways. To your point, the straightaway speed in that draft, especially that backstretch there, could be huge in an open qualifying setting.
Oh, most definitely with low fuel, just a little bit of boost with the drafting, you could earn a lot of speed down there, and like I said, 2 3 tenths. That's all that can take from fifth place to even first place. Or if you're down a little bit lower, that's 10th to fifth. That's a small gap.
Well, we've been giving Chris Herrera a lot of love. Let's go down through the field here and take a look at Pete Mobrotten. Pete Mobrotten currently sitting in the second position, about 2 tenths down from the pole. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, he didn't have a too great of a practice run. He finished, I believe, P7 in practice. Not as good as he was doing last season, but he's definitely showed up with the speed on qualifying setup. Maybe he was just more focused on race setup during practice.
Yeah, Pete's definitely one of the ones who he shows up to the track and you expect him to see on the podium. If he doesn't, that's kind of a bad day, which I gotta say, that's not my experience in the Skip Barber.
Yeah, it's these things are definitely hard to drive, and he's definitely got it nailed down to the tenth. He's one of the fastest drivers that you'll probably race around.
So, Jared, one of the new rule changes for this season that was voted upon by the drivers is we went from a 30-minute race to a 40-minute race with a forced pit stop based on fuel load. So that's going to be a little different dynamic that we're going to be looking at today, and we'll see if maybe the old power dynamic, typically the Brons and the Hausers and the dances of the league, if maybe some of the other guys can make up some of that ground based on the new strategy that's going to be in play.
Oh, most definitely. Those 10 minutes. That's at this track. That's a solid 7 extra laps. It seems. For the times that they're running right now, and the season finale of last season. Just looking back on it, P2 and P1 were only separated by half of a second. So 7 more laps. You never know what could have happened right there. That could have been swaps between those two drivers.
And as we look here, it looks like Jonathan Dance has laid down a 1:43.03, puts him in the second position above Pete. And Bill Groombridge, I'm sorry, Mike Bauer's just taken the 4th spot over. It looks like we've got some good competition there right at the top of the timing tower.
Almost definitely. Like just a few laps ago, Chris Herrera was on pole, and then LeBrotten took pole from him, and then Dance took pole again, and then Herrera took it back. So it's been a fun battle to see just by qualifying who will grab that top spot and for the race get the best position entering turn 1.
So we're looking now at Don Parks, who's got Jonathan Dance. I'm sorry, he's in Jonathan Dance's draft, so we'll see what he can do with that. Maybe pull himself from that 9 position on a little further up. And as we look a little further up the track, here is Bill Groombridge in the 10 car in the draft of the number 66 Steve Dewar as he pulls to the inside.
Yeah, I wonder. I currently don't have the information on it, but if there are teams in this league, I wonder if there's some drivers that are going to be just kind of like what Broombridge did right there, going on the straightaway, getting the draft to someone, and just having that other driver just pull off so they don't interfere them in the corners. That could definitely even earn more time, just kind of like what the F1 cars did at Monza last year tried to do.
Yep, yeah, there's no doubt about that. No official teams, however, there is a sense of camaraderie within the league for the Sunday Night Skippy League, and the competition is fierce, but there's a good sense of helping each other out, helping each other learn, and so if you're interested in joining the Sunday Night Skippy League, I would highly recommend it. Looks like Steve was able to take the place back from Bill, and you gotta wonder if maybe Bill was letting him by to get back in that draft and try a little slingshot maneuver.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It can do a lot of time you can earn through that, and all the qualifying sessions over, so people are going to be setting their final laps here. But who knows? It can earn them a lot of speed. Roombridge just did go into the pits, so he probably was just going by to give them that draft down that back straight away.
And as everybody finishes up their final lap here, we have finished the end of open qualifying once the laps are complete, and we will see what the grid will be for race 1 of season 2 of the Sunday Night Skippy League. Ian, we're all rocking a fantastic Sunday Night Skippy paint scheme here. Got to give it up to him for that.
Yeah, well, as qualifying wraps up, the only other driver on track that I can see is Jake Achi, who just set his final lap. Couldn't improve on his time, and Pete Mobrotten is still on track to set his final lap of the session. Or no, he's just going right in pits, so that's your starting order from what I can tell. Nobody else is on track.
Outstanding. Well, we will go official here soon and bring up that grid for you. In the meantime, I want to bring up the information down here for the Camping Universe Xfinity Series website. You can also find it on the iRacing League page as well. If you have any interest in that Xfinity Class B car, I can personally attest this is another great league. A bunch of guys who and potentially women who are really just in it for the good competition and helping each other out, learning and improving. And yeah, I would highly recommend it.
Yep, I might be a little bit biased because I'm a owner of a league, but we have really good competition so far. It was 5 races and have 4 different winners, and it's been a really fun season, both the most competitive season I've been in a while.
Yeah, I'm hoping to improve a little bit. I've been finishing top 10 to the best of my ability, but I just can't get over that hump. You guys have we got a couple good good drivers there who just
Yeah.
I can't seem to get over it. But it's good competition, good fun, and if you're interested in oval and a little bit of road, that's great. And hopefully, if you're watching from the camping universe, coming over and check out the Skip Barber series. It's also good fun.
Yeah, I've raced these cars a few times, and they're a blast to drive. Um, was actually practicing these cars earlier today, and I can tell you what these cars, well, these drivers are a lot faster than what I was doing. But
Well, yeah, that's fair. I think I got it down to a 146 or so, about 20 laps in, but I just didn't have the time
yeah,
to practice a little bit more. But we seem to be having problems with the. I apologize for that. We've got about 20 seconds left before we go green here. Finally able to pull up the starting grid for today. We got Chris Herrera, Jonathan Dance, Pete Mobron, I'm sorry, Bill Groombridge, Jason Bice, Mike Bowers, Chris Stewart, Lyndall Murphy, Boris Remus, John Parks, Steve Doerr, Jeff Torbeck, and I think that's it. Here we go. That happened really quick.
yep. And away we go. Entering turn one, Chris O'Hara had a pretty good jump. Could be single file going through the start. Most people kind of trying to work their way up through the field already. Herrera has a pretty decent lead on Jonathan Dance currently. Might be able to get the slingshot on down the backstretch, but he's got the best advantage going in to turn 5, I believe.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to take a lap around the track here so people get a better sense of it. I'll pull up the track map once again. Still pretty tightly bunched as we're going down the back stretch here. Pete's going to look to the outside. Jonathan Dance as well. See if they can't get a preferred line. But they're able to sort it out and pretty
We
well.
had a
Oh,
spin in the back of the field.
all right. Let's go take it back. Looks like Don Parks might be out. Yeah, looks like they They just touched wheels there a little bit, but he didn't make any contact, was able to get going. Hopefully he'll be able to make that up. Long race. And we'll look back here, sorry, real quick, to the 2 of Oliver Hartley. Just send it in a little bit quick. Also didn't make any contact, we'll be fine.
Yeah, if they don't have any contact, especially with the...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. As we come back live, we see Ian Worrell going flying into the wall. Jason Bice has crashed. We're going to have to clean this up here in just a second. Make sure nobody...
We got, we got another spinner off of turn 1, 2-car wreck.
All right, let's see what we can do here.
That was a 3-car wreck. Jason Bryce, McMurphy, and Chris Stewart were all involved in that.
All right, we're looking here at Ian Worrell. Just gets loose off the corner, sends into the wall. Did not collect anybody. We'll go back here to the Jason Bice. There is the 21 of Jason. Gets loose, collects. Oh, Chris Stewart, yeah, sends a wheel flying. Oh, no, it doesn't. I think that might have been just one of the technical glitches there. Not too bad. All right.
McMurphy had to go off track and luckily avoided that outside wall with the tire barriers, and he shouldn't have any damage from that one, but he definitely lost a lot of time right there.
We'll check in live here with McMurphy in the 63 car, and he seems to be doing all right. Let's hope it stays that way.
He was able to recover from that pretty well. He had a really good wreck avoid, or contact avoidance, I should say, at the outside wall. Once you touch that wall, especially with these cars, one of your wheels are going to get pushed in. You lose a lot of your downforce, or you're just going to lose a wheel completely.
Yeah,
which will easily end your race.
These are not the NASCARs. You got to be real gentle with them for sure. We're checking in here live with Carrington Wilmer in the 24 car. He makes a pass on Torbeck. And that's for P8. We'll go back up here. Jonathan Dance and Pete Mobronton doing battle for that second position.
Yeah, it's kind of a 3-car battle with Groombridge right behind them, and then there's Barr is kind of trailing right behind, kind of hoping if one of them kind of get contact, he can, or one goes off track, he can easily just snag that position LA. But while that's all happening, Herrera is just pulling away from this group slightly and slightly.
Yeah, I bet Chris is not disappointed that these guys are just battling each other out.
Oh, most definitely. And Dance, I think, had a little issue right there and dropped to 4th to Broombridge. And Broughton got to pull away from them due to that. And all of those top 5 cars are right on the edge, going off of that final corner, all almost touching that dirt sand area, the runoff. And looks like Dance actually ended up getting back up to P3, and while that was happening, Groombridge kind of got loose and pushed Perez off the track. He got to save it from that and still battle with them, but certainly lost them with a few seconds.
Oh, and there's some massive damage. That looks like the... Oh my, we're still collecting people. Alright, we're going to have to go back and check that out. Groombridge, Bowers, both in the accident.
Groombridge lost his rear wing due to that accident, and I believe one of those 3 lost a wheel and went... Yeah, that was Bowers. He's certainly out of a race now. He flipped a few times. Not good. Hopefully he's going to be okay out of that. And then some of the drivers did end up hitting some flying debris and could have damaged their front wing out of it.
Yeah, Mike Bowers went for a ride right there. Just a. We'll take one more look on the chopper cam, and they just touched wheels, and it kind of sent the whole thing into motion. Unfortunate for those drivers.
Most definitely, they were all having a really good battle right there. Dance, he was the one that kind of touched the wheels with Broombridge, and surprisingly, from how bad it looked on his ends, he's still able to run. I don't think he has a rear wing anymore, though.
It does not look like it, although he, like he said, he's in third and doesn't seem to be giving up, although you do see the gap increasing.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be losing time every lap until you can get that fixed. But he has a pretty good gap on P4 currently, so maybe he was just going to risk it and not even pit, because we only have 30 minutes left on this race.
Well, you know what I say, no risk it, no biscuit. Let's go back here to the number 24 car, Carrington Wilmer, who is locked in battle with Chris Stewart for that 5th position. As we look back from Chris Stewart's car, seeing if Carrington's got anything for him, poking inside, outside, just looking for a spot.
You just like we just saw, if you touch these cars, you're going for a wild ride, so it's going to be even harder to pass with these things than, like, Camping Interest League with Xfinity cars. You can at least rub with those a little bit. With these things, you're going to easily lose a wheel. So you have to make sure whenever you do go for the pass that it's you have a really good shot at doing it, and make sure you're clear of him while doing it.
And I'm no professional, but from what I understand, it is much tougher to win a race on 3 tires than 4.
It's easier to win a race on 2 tires than 3, I'm pretty sure. Just ask the Moto.
Well, that's fair.
Driver.
That is fair. And while we're napping back here, we got a race for the lead. Chris Herrera has been caught by Pete Mabrotten.
He's right on his tail going into the hairpin here. Might be to make a move to the outside. He actually has the edge entering the corner here. But as we've seen with other drivers, the outside's not really the best lane through there. Still side by side. And Mabrotten actually pulls away and actually clears him coming out of the hairpin there.
Move. He went outside, maintained control to get the inside line on that out curve. Wow. Fantastic job by Pete.
Oh, and he locks it up and just loses it right back. He saved it, though.
You hate to see it, but yeah, that's good on him. I mean, that just goes to show you the control he has over that car. If it were me, I would have been in the fence or the concrete wall, whatever they got there.
Yeah, most definitely. He got to save that and keep it out of a fence, out of the grass, and he's still in P2. Still can chase back down Herrera. Might need to cool off his tires a little bit, though, after that lock.
All right, let's go back to Carrington and Chris here as Carrington drives it inside. Chris takes it outside through the first turn.
He's might be to try a crossover here going down to this kind of mini straightaway with a little curve. Chris was forced to have not an optimal line going on that final corner entering that. He was able to pull away from it, but now Wilmer might be able to get a decent draft going down into the hairpin. Just kind of do the same thing as Mabrotten did, but go to the inside.
And here you
might
go.
Have a slight advantage.
You just called it.
He's going to have a slight advantage going into there, so he should be able to clear.
Locked it up just a touch, but he's able to maintain position.
They have maintained position, not hit him, but Stewart came back out in front of him. Good driving by him to keep that outside line. Most of his drivers earlier couldn't really pass or keep their position on that outside line, so surprised that if 2 times in a row I think people will be able to do that. Maybe it's just their tires weren't warmed up enough yet.
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive. Good information for later in the race. We do have some battles here, so I'm sure these drivers are filing that information away in the back of their brains for the later laps.
Well, most definitely, especially if road racing, needing to know exactly where you can pass, and if you can't pass it in practice, maybe just not on cold or warm tires yet. I'm sorry about. And with the pit stop later, I don't believe anyone's going to be taking tires, but you need to worry about tire wear later. That if you're on that inside line, you might be able to lock it up just slightly more because you don't have enough grip. You have to brake just slightly harder entering there, and if you're side by side, you can have something go really wrong.
Yeah, it's not really a dynamic the Sunday Night Skippy League is dealt with in the first season, but with the longer races, the pit stops, it'll be interesting to see what strategies are invoked and how that impacts people in these longer runs. It just wasn't something that we were dealing with earlier, so excited to see how that works out. We've got Boris Remus in the 23, doing battle with Don Parks in the 54, the Rust Bucket, as I call it. They've been kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, and while we're talking about all this in the back, Mabrotten has cut down the lead. He's down to 4/10. When he locked it up, he went down to about a second behind, so he's definitely the faster car. He just needs to get around Herrera and just not make a mistake, and I think he can just pull away with it after that, or maybe do some pit strategy and undercut or overcut him. You never know.
That's the point that I brought up before on the broadcast is, we kind of take for granted how easy these guys are making it look, but consistency is king. And, a little mistake here or there, these cars don't have a ton of power. They just don't. So you're not going to be able to just make it up by mashing the accelerator. So it's really that consistency, lap after lap, hitting your lines, hitting your marks, braking zones. That's going to be the difference between winning and losing.
Most definitely, like we had earlier, well, Mabratten's actually going to make a move to the inside here down this back straightaway. Herrera is actually going to have the advantage going into the hairpin, but he's on that outside lane. Maybe Mabrotten can do something on the inside. Through the corner, they're still side by side, but Herrera has the advantage on the inside of the next corner. Mabrotten still can stay with him.
He's passed on the outside, he's passed on the inside. I don't know if there's a place that this guy can't pass.
Yeah, he's showing a really strong car. He has that car completely under control. He might look a little squirrely with the back end, but he most definitely has complete control of that car. And he's caught and passed Herrera twice now, so he can probably, well, at least he's going to try to pull away from him for the rest of this race.
And it'll be interesting to see how Herrera kind of deals with that. You brought up the point. There's still a lot of racing left and a pit stop, so let's not panic yet. Like I said, hit your marks and see maybe these longer run tires if he's got something for him later. But obviously the tendency after you've been leading for that many laps is to panic a little bit and make a mistake.
Yeah, and one thing he has to worry about now too is he's gonna have dirty air behind him, so your car's not gonna turn. So if he can deal with that, he might be able to make another move, which he's actually like right on the gearbox of Mabrotten coming on this straightaway. I don't think he'll be able to make a move entering the hairpin, since Mabrotten also has a little bit of draft by the lapped car of the 246. Well, he does make a move the inside. He's
not giving up.
diving it in there, and yeah, he's gonna get clear of him. Unless Mabron kind of dives in this corner, which he's not, so Herrera just took the lead right back. Just had that late braking tendency in him, and
now here's the big question. Looks like Ian's gonna let them by no problem.
yeah, good job by World to not get in their battle, and hopefully he'll let Dance do the same thing when he catches up to him in third place. Which surprisingly, he's still in third place with no rear wing. He's kept within 3 seconds of the leaders, which he's actually going into pits right now.
All right, so that's our first pit stop.
Wonder how long the
I don't know what the damage on that is, but
I wonder how long the damage repair, if he can get another ring on it, and if he opts that he won't. I wonder if he got another wing on it there. Looks like he was staying within 3 seconds of the leaders without that. So with this new rear wing on his car, maybe he could do something and try and catch them and potentially pass them later in the race. Also have Don Parks in the pits as well.
Looks like a pretty solid pit stop for Jonathan Dance. We'll rejoin the leaders here for just a second. I'd like to make our way through the field as well. I feel like there's some folks we haven't had much of a chance to talk about. Let's look back here at... And actually, you know what? I changed my mind. Let's get through the pit stops and we'll do a through the field. We do have a good battle here brewing, though, once again between Chris Stewart and Carrington Wilmer.
Yeah, they're a little bit separated, but Wilmer's had those good few runs at Stewart there, and maybe he just had to back off and cool his tires down a little bit to make another run at him. He's never know. Whenever you heat up those tires a lot, you're gonna start sliding and you don't have as much grip. So cool them down a little bit and make another run at him, and could maybe even pass him this time. He's had what, 2 or 3 tries at it so far, but Stewart's kind of came out on top every. That's currently Mabron just came into the pits, so that is the battle for 4th currently, or what would be 4th.
Yeah, so we've got some differing strategies going on here. Obviously, Herrera did not come in. That's going to put Lyndall McMurphy in the 2 spot. Also has not pit. Currently, I'm showing Jonathan Dance, Oliver Hartley. Oh, I'm sorry, Pete Mabron, Jonathan Dance, and Don Parks as the 3 pitters so far, with Jake O'Shea currently entering pit road.
Yeah, Dance actually had a pretty good pit stop. He's maintained his 3-second gap to Mabron, but Mabron came out behind a few drivers, Vince Ball and Travis Campbell. So he's gonna have to work his way up through not lapped traffic, but just traffic to still battle with Herrera once he finally comes into the pit road. Got by Vince Ball very fast, kind of let him go but he's definitely got slowed down right there off the corner by Travis Campbell.
Well, as Pete makes his way up through the field, let's check in with Chris and Carrington once again. Looks like that. You were mentioning Carrington may have just backed off, let the tires cool down a little bit. Looks like he's making another push. Still have not pit.
Yeah, we have, we're basically the halfway mark now. So Vince Ball just came into the pit road, it appears. But the top top few runners, Herrera is the one that kind of surprises me. I thought that he would have came into pit road with Mabrotten, or at least a lap after or something to kind of take out that undercut. I know they're most likely not going to be taking tires, but you still want to be able to see the driver that you're racing, now you're not racing time. The one thing though is with Herrera, he might be just doing that so Mabrotten doesn't have the draft off of him for if he is behind him like he was. Maybe he'll be able to pull away down the straight so he won't have as much toe going into like the hairpin and first corner.
Yeah, and actually our defending champ James Hauser's joined us in the stream chat, and he points out that Pete's kind of staying behind some of the guys to get that draft advantage as well on the straights, like you were talking about. So it's kind of a smart move there on his part. The interesting thing will be here how much longer these current leaders are going to stay out. I've got Pete currently in 9th, already having pit.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, I believe Mabrotten will be coming out ahead of Herrera. He was basically right on the gearbox of Herrera going down into pit road, and when he came out, he was about 33 seconds behind, and now he's only 31.5 seconds back, so he's gained a second and a half. So once Herrera pits, I believe Mabrotten will have a slight advantage over him. They'll still be very, very close, but
And for our live viewers, I've pulled up the laps there next to the gap. That is the last time that the drivers have pit. Once we get through the green flag stops, I will pull that back, but that's just to give everybody an idea of when folks have taken their last pit stop, or their only pit stop, I guess I should say, in this case.
yeah, a few of them might have had 2 pit stops, just these earlier incidents. But Jason Bryce just came down pit road, Travis Campbell, and Oliver Hartley is also still in pit road. He's down in P13. We do actually have the battle for currently P3 still with Chris Stewart and Carlington Wilmer, and Boris Remus is still kind of trailing those three. Well, those to make it a 3-car battle potentially at some point down the stretch. And Remus and Wilmer just hit pit road.
All right, so there you go. We start seeing a few more cars coming in and getting that pit stop out of the way.
Second place, McMurphy, has also came down pit road.
And we're
So
gonna...
now it's just Herrera and Chris Stewart, who are the only two who haven't pitted, as far as I could tell.
Well, let's see how that works out for him. We're following Boris here on the pit stop. Sure, he's anxious to get out there.
Most definitely. Like he was just trailing those 2 of Wilmer and Stewart. So if he comes out right behind Wilmer, oh, and he stalled a little bit coming out of his stall.
Yeah, just a touch there.
So,
it's not going to be ideal, but
he's gonna lose a second or two because that was Wilmer right ahead of him exiting, and now he's a whole entire corner ahead instead of just a few car lengths. That's gonna hurt him a lot. Mabrotten and Herrera have kind of stayed their gap since I mentioned it. They're still about 31.5 to 32 seconds apart. I understand what Herrera is doing with staying out to not give Mabrotten the draft, and Herrera is actually coming in pit road this time.
all right, there you go. That leaves Chris Stewart as the top runner, the lone top runner who has to pit. But as I say that, here he comes. I think he finally has had enough.
Yeah, they probably were running until about the tank was empty, just so they don't have to do any fuel calculations or as much fuel calculations as the other drivers. So we'll see where Herrera and Stewart come out compared to Mabrotten and Dance, and Wilmer. Stewart was battling Wilmer, and Parks actually is right behind Wilmer now. He kind of caught up through the pit stop cycle. And Broughton has taken the lead off of Herrera, and Dance is now going to be right on the tail or side by side, and right on the tail of Herrera exiting turn 1. So Herrera lost a lot of time in pit road through the pit stop cycle.
Yep, that's so now Herrera's in the battle for second, and Pete opened up a solid 4.5-ish second gap for the lead, and I gotta say that pit strategy seemed to work out for him so far. Although once these tires get warmed up for Chris Herrera, I gotta wonder if maybe he's got the advantage going into minute 35 or so. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see, but Herrera, instead of just trying to focus on ahead of him for Broughton, he has Dance right on his gearbox. So he's going to have to watch his mirrors especially on cold tires, he's going to have to worry about him instead of fully focus on trying to gain, which is going to hurt him a lot. But he's about 4 seconds back with, 12 minutes left in the race. That's only 4 seconds in 12 minutes. That's not a long time. You can easily, one mistake by Van Rotten, and you can cut off at least half of that. And like you said, maybe he'll have the advantage going on a little bit later in this race with the fresher tires. 5-lap freshers?
Yeah, I gotta check the pit times. I'm not 100. I said that, and I'm not 100% sure who took tires and who didn't. So it may be a non-factor at the end of the day, but I mean, he's able to gain 0.3 of a second in just a couple laps, but you got to imagine without somebody pushing him, Pete's just kind of up there cruising and just hitting his marks and not really sweating anything at the moment.
Yeah, since through the cycle he got that big of a gap, he doesn't have to worry about anything. As long as he, like I said, hits his marks, doesn't make a mistake, he's easily going to win it. As long as he doesn't back it down too much. We've seen some drivers in real life racing even that they have such a big gap, they pace themselves where they're not going to be as what do I say, as pushing, or where they don't have to push and make mistakes.
Right.
So they lose the gap, and some of them do that just too much, where second place actually gets to catch up to them and pass them. And all of this is happening. Don Parks and Carrington Wilmer are battling. They're within a couple car lengths of each other. Wilmer had a look out the outside of the hairpin this last lap, but just couldn't make it do. And Chris Stewart is just slightly behind them. Can try and work his way up to catch them and potentially pass.
Yeah, I bet he's hoping that Carrington can get alongside Don there so they can, race each other a little bit more, and that would give Chris the easy entry to catch up and battle for that 5th spot as well.
Yeah, I will have to say big props to Carrington Wilmer. He started P19 on the grid, and he's worked his way up all the way up to P6 currently, and P5 right in this. P4 is a little bit of a stretch currently, but you can't rule that out. That's only a 5-second gap to McMurphy, who was involved in an off-track incident. I don't know if he clipped that outside wall or not, but he's also having a strong showing, coming up from a P8 to P4 currently.
Yeah, it's outstanding to see. And James Hauser's also chimed in. Being the resident professional, certainly far be it from me to disagree with him, mentioning that 50-plus laps on these tires and not lose time. So even if they did get a tire change, which it probably wouldn't make sense for them to do that if you can run that long on these tires, it's really just going to come down to, can they make up the time on Pete? There's no inherent advantage to what they did other than potentially a little bit of a draft, but there you go.
Yeah, so if they don't have any advantage, I mean, They cut it down just slightly, but within like 2 or 3 laps, they only gained about a tenth, maybe 2 tenths on Mabrotten. I think Mabrotten basically just has it in the bag, just needs to check out now.
Yep, and like you said, things can change. You make one mistake, and it's a different race. But let's take this opportunity now as things get just a little strung out and go through the field. We've spent a lot of time here at the front. Let's check in now with down at the 8th position with Steve Dewar.
He hasn't had a bad race yet. He's started off in P11, worked his way up to P8 currently, and has Jason Bryce right on his tail. But he's been a strong car so far. He passed Bryce early in the race. Bryce started P5, so he certainly can work his way up. Not doing too bad right now.
Yeah, Jason's had a string of bad luck coming out of last season, and he's got a real strong car, pretty strong driver. Just ends up in the wrong spot at the wrong time a lot of the time. So it's good to see him working his way back up into the 9th spot there, and hopefully he can make up. Looks like he started
5.
fifth. Yeah, there you go. So
I do believe he was involved in the incident earlier.
I mean,
with Groombridge and Bowers, that he got caught in some of the debris, and I think he probably got a little bit of front wing damage. This is why he fell down a little bit.
I mean that sounds about right for Jason Bice. Unfortunately, we'll come back here to Jeff Torbeck in the 10th spot, running out the top 10. He's got Travis Campbell, or I'm sorry, that's not Travis Campbell behind him. Who is that behind him?
It's that is Travis Campbell right behind him, about a second and a half back.
So he's rocking the Coca-Cola scheme today, coming out, getting some solid laps in. I mean, a top 10 finish, I don't think I'd sneeze at that for sure.
Most definitely not. And I guess I kind of have to have a little bit of bias towards him because him and I are both from the same state of Ohio. So
well, there you go.
Hopefully he can. He has pretty decent ways to work to catch up to Bice and Dewar, but hopefully he can work something out to make it just even a slightly better day for us.
Well, I'd say, yeah, look forward for sure, but hopefully he's not looking in his rearview mirror. Because like you said, Travis Campbell is right there. If he can make a couple clean turns, one little mistake, little turn of the wheel there, and I think Travis is gunning for that top 10. There's just something special about that top 10 position that makes it worth pushing a little bit.
Yeah, you get that extra stat on the stat sheet. If you get 11, if you don't get anything on the stat sheet, if you get 10, you at least get something. So everybody's going to be pushing for at least that, and same thing for a top 5. So like Wilmer, who's right on Mirrors of Parks, he's going to be pushing just slightly more because that's a stat line you can say later down the road. Like, hey, I hope only driver this season get a top 10 or something like that in every race, and
absolutely.
You never know what could happen to some of the other drivers like Groombridge and Bowers earlier. They both tangled, and they're both down in P15 and 16, sadly. So they're not even going to be able to get that stat later in the...
Yep, never give up, never surrender. As we look back at Vince Ball behind them in that 16 green machine. Having a solid race. You know, 12th place. He's seems to be running. I don't remember him getting in anything particular. I think he's just kind of out there running his laps and having a good time.
Yeah, I don't remember anything either. He might have just had a little bit of... There's a few wrecks on the first few laps, so he might have had to slow down for them starting back in P15, I believe. So he might have gotten slowed down slightly by those, but he's had a pretty good race. Hasn't shown any damage on his number 16 machine.
Boris Remus plugging along from my old state of Illinois, and he's rocking that number 23, and I'm sure he'll be looking for better results moving forward.
Yeah, he I don't know exactly what happened with him, but he started in P9. He was one of the fastest drivers down in practice. just transferring over to race, just something didn't click with him, I guess. He finished P4 on the practice speed charts, so it just bad luck for him. I'm gonna assume during this race is a minute behind the lead.
Yeah, if there was an incident involved, I either forgot or it's not showing up on my log here. But real quick, we're running down on time here. Let's just take a quick look at Oliver Hartley. And I believe Oliver is relatively new. I saw him join the Discord here just recently. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize. But Oliver out here turning some good laps, 14th position, and hopefully he's enjoying himself.
Yeah, I believe he got in the earlier incident because unless my iRacing is glitching out, his right rear tire is kind of pushed in a little bit compared to his left rear.
Yeah,
so that might have been hurting him down a little bit, and
we can take a look back real quick here. Just refresh our memory. Oliver Hartley. Oh yeah, he just kind of sent it. He sent it in just a little bit much there on the hairpin after the backstretch. But I'm not sure if that's the push in, but
it might have had a little bit of net code on my side that just makes it look like it. But either way, he's probably, if he's new to the league, I mean, it's probably just hopefully having fun out there currently. But if he's one of those people who raced last season, this is probably not the result he'd like.
Yeah, I hear ya. Jake Ashe, I believe he was involved as well earlier, but currently running 16th. Doesn't really have any run around him, so I'm hoping he's got some just clicking off the laps, getting comfortable with the car and the tires again, and we look forward to maybe a different result in week 2.
Yeah, he hasn't had the best of races, but being 2 laps down, he most likely got a little bit of damage in one of those wrecks. Groombridge is the final car in lead lap. He started P4 and down in P15. He's the one that tangled with Dance, who actually surprisingly didn't really have anything wrong with his car out of that wreck, and Bowers, but he stayed on the lead lap, having to do an extra pit stop during the race. So I think that's a pretty good achievement for him.
All right. Count down the minutes here. We'll come back to the race for second. And no offense to Pete, but this is the closest racing we've got going on at the moment. And actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to just cut away here. It looks like Carrington and Travis both have crashed relatively recently. Let's go check out what happened there.
Oh,
I say that as as they're battling for second here. Let's go real quick.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything wrong until you said something right there. They were both entering turn 1, it looks like. And Wilmer just kind of got a little bit off track and clipped his left rear tire off, and it just spun him around. I don't know what happened to Don Parks, though. It was after that incident.
It looks like...
or before that incident, actually.
A little slight contact, but... Nothing too crazy. We're coming down here, and I got a little distracted here. We've got a finish coming up. Pete takes first place. Chris Herrera, looks like Jonathan Dance isn't going to be able to pull it out, takes third place.
That's a really strong showing for Dance, though, for having that no rear wing for the first half of the race until he had to pit, coming up and battling for a second at the end of there and sagging third. I got McMurphy coming home in 4th. Chris Stewart coming home in 5th. Wilmer just crossed the line, coming up from a P19 to a P6. That's a really strong showing for him.
Yeah, I'll take that any day.
Jason Bice in 7th, and Steve Dewar in 8th. Don Parks, he was battling with Stewart and Wilmer. He's going to come out in 9th. A few laps before Wilmer had his issue, he actually had a close battle Vince Ball and Boris Ramus come home in 10th and 11th. Vince Ball got 10th there. They were side by side crossing the start finish line.
Yeah, there's a couple close finishes there as we were trying to figure. And I
And
apologize.
also, Travis Campbell and Torbeck were gearbox to gearbox. Campbell actually passed Torbeck for P12 to finish his race off.
And Bill Groombridge comes across the line as well. And the race is over. We'll take a look at the final stats here. Pete Mabrun keeping up his winning ways with the number 1 position. He had a solid 4.437 second lead over the number 2 Chris Herrera. Jonathan Dance takes the final podium spot at 3rd. Lyndall McMurphy and Chris Stewart round out the top 5, with Carrington Wilmer, Jason Bice, and Steve Dewar, Don Parks, and Vince Ball from Michigan rounding out the top 10. Further down, we've got Boris Remus, Travis Campbell, Jeff Tobeck, Oliver Hartley, Bill Groombridge, Jake Ashe, Mike Bowers, and Ian Worrell in 18th to round out the field.
Yeah, not the finishes. Some of the drivers like Groombridge and Ashe and Bowers and Worrell would like. That they were all pretty high up there on rather qualifying results or practice results. Groombridge was actually the fastest in practice, got P4 in qualifying. Sucks for him that he had a little tango with Dance, the 93 early in the race, which kind of cost him a lot of time. But he came at home and still on the lead lap in P15. I think that's still solid. He had a chance to catch Oliver Hartley, just about 6 seconds back for having an extra pit stop. He was one of the faster guys on track.
Well, we got one last stat for you there. Brought up the total gains and losses. Great race. I'm sure Wilmer and Vince Ball and Hartley are going to be walking away from this race pretty happy that they were able to gain a significant amount of points. Some disappointment for others, but overall, I'd say it's a great race. Nice, clean racing, and yeah, it was just fun to watch. I'm glad we got to see some great battles throughout the field, which I think is fantastic, and that's what I like about this league. You get some good races for the win, but also throughout the field, a lot of different levels of skill sets and something for everybody.
Most definitely. While we're going down through the field there at the end, we had 4 or 5 people like switch positions there. Like we had Stewart, he was down in P7 with Wilmer and Parks in 5 and 6, and Stewart came out on top between all 3 of them, and Wilmer dropped down to 6. Parks fell down to 9th with his issue. I just still couldn't find it on track of what happened to him. He pulled off down this front straightaway to let Wilmer by, I'd assume, or just to break the draft. But after that, he just lost a lot of speed and fell all the way down to 9th, sadly.
Well, I'll throw one more pitch out there. Thank you for joining us, Jared. That's Jared Ziegler from the Camping Universe Xfinity Series. Outstanding job. Thanks for joining us. If you are interested in some Class B action, very similar tone to the Sunday Night Skippy Series, check them out at the website below. And vice versa, if you're checking in from Camping Universe, we would love to see you over in the Skip Barber Series and learn some road racing with some good competition.
Yeah, for sure. We're always accepting new members. It was a blast watching these guys. They all had clean race. I'm sure that everyone here would like. I mean, it was a really good field so far, but getting just 2 or 3 more drivers would make it even better. But have a little bit more action and racing potentially going on. I mean, it was already really no dead zones in this race. Everyone was rather side by side or gearbox to front nose, and it was a blast to watch. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You're welcome back anytime. And until next week, just want to wish everybody to stay safe, practice that social distancing, and no better time to race some iRacing with your online buddies here, I'd say. So take care of yourselves, and we will see you in week 2. All right, man, we're out.